Today we're going to learn how to make a pivot table in Excel using our yeast phenotype data. The purpose of using a pivot table is to help us summarize and explore the data more easily. Instead of scanning through rows manually, a pivot table can instantly calculate totals, averages, or group comparisons, helping us spot patterns and trends in the results. If you haven't already, please download the Excel sheet from the Canvas link so you can follow along. Your spreadsheet should look something like this, with multiple columns, as well as multiple data points. For this tutorial, I'm going to use a random subset of the full dataset to keep things simple and easy to follow. Let's take a moment to explore the data. In the first row, we have our column headers. These are the labels that describe what each column represents. We have section number, group number, transformation type, nanograms of plasmid added to the transformation, nanograms of HDR added to transformation, number of white colonies, number of red colonies, total number colonies. These headers help us organize and structure the data so we can analyze it in a meaningful way using our pivot table. To start, I recommend placing your data into a table format. This step isn't required to make a pivot table, but it does make things a lot easier if you plan to make changes or add more data points later on. To do this, we're going to select our first cell here. Then you're going to hold down Shift and click to select the rest of the data set. So we're going to navigate to the menu above, and we're going to click on Insert. There's going to be this option that is Table. We'll go ahead and select that. A window will pop up showing the range of the data you selected. Make sure the box that says My Table Has Headers is selected, and we'll go ahead and press OK. Now our data set is in a table format. Now that we have our data in a table form, we're ready to set it up as a pivot table. Under the Insert tab, there's also going to be this Pivot Table button. We'll go ahead and select that. A new window is going to pop up that is called Create Pivot Table. We're going to go ahead and select our table, which is table 3, and then we're going to also choose the place that we want the pivot table to populate. We'll go ahead and select New Worksheet. Press OK. A new sheet will open up. Before we continue setting up, we'll make sure that our cursor is clicked somewhere inside this blank pivot table area. On the right-hand side, you'll see this Pivot Table Fields panel. This shows all of the column headers from our data set. These are all different variables that we can work with. Below, you'll see 4 boxes labeled Filters, Columns, Rows, and Values. This is where the real magic happens. You can drag all of the field names into these boxes and organize and summarize data in different ways depending on what you want to analyze. Let's say we wanted to organize our data to show the number of red colonies each group received, broken down by the transformation type. To do this, drag group number and transformation type into the rows box. This will stack the data so that each transformation type is nested under its respective group. Next, drag the number of red colonies into the values box. This tells Excel what we want to measure. It's really important to check how Excel is summarizing the data. By default, it might show the sum, but sometimes we may want count, average, max, or min, depending on how we want our data formatted. To change this, we're going to go ahead and navigate back down to that values box, and there's an information icon on the right-hand side of your data label. We're going to go ahead and click on that. A new window will pop up called Pivot Table Fields, and there are options in which we can summarize our data by. Some things may include sum, count, average, max, min, product. There are different ways that you can summarize your data that you can play around with. Here's how to add a calculated field. Make sure that you're clicked anywhere inside of our pivot table. Go to the Pivot Table Analyze tab in the top menu here. Then we'll go ahead and click Fields, Items, and Sets. Select on Calculated Field. A new window should pop up. We're going to name our new calculated field %red colonies. We'll also insert our formula here, which is going to be red colonies. So we'll insert that field divided by total number of colonies. We'll go ahead and insert that field and select OK. Now we have a new column inserted into our pivot table, which is our percent red colonies. Now that we've explored some pivot table functions and added a calculated field, we're going to take the next step, which is calculating the average percent red colonies using that calculated field. This time, we'll do the calculation outside the pivot table in a separate column. Another thing to note is that in your own data sheet, you've likely already cleaned up some of these values during your initial data prep. Therefore, you wouldn't see some of these errors. But for this example, I'll show you how to work with PML 104 guide RNA HDR2 to calculate the average percent red. We'll start by labeling our column, which is going to be average percent red colonies. We'll navigate to a cell below and enter in equals and the average function. We will select our range of red colony percentages, and we get 0.65 or 66%. You can go ahead and calculate this average for the remainder transformation types. That's all for this video. In the next one, we'll dive into the basics of graphing your data and calculating standard deviation. See you in the next one.